Well, I'm sticking in this message ahead of the episode to say we got live shows again. The link for all the events we have so far will be in the description of this episode. Hopefully there'll be a couple more to announce over the next few days, but at the minute we've got the 19th of February in Shinay in Dublin and the 4th of March in Coughlin's in Cork, and that one is with Roger O'Sullivan. So you can follow the link below to get tickets to those, and hopefully we'll see you at a live show soon.
Hello, and welcome to Shite Talk, an Irish history podcast. What do we have to say in the intro this week, Kevin?
It's 2022. It has been for a while.
About a month by the time this comes out.
Yeah, well into it.
That's officially too late to say that to anyone.
Yeah, when do you have to stop wishing people a happy new year? January 3rd,
4th, 5th. Yeah, I'll do it you're pushing it on the 4th and 5th, but you haven't seen someone and you're close to them. Maybe you say it then.
Yeah,
definitely not February 5th.
No, but it is St. Bridget's weekend.
It is. It's Imbolc.
Yeah, that's true.
If I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know if I am. Did a podcast on it last year. Still don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, a podcast which you forgot about because you recommended. You're all excited about doing a Imbolc episode there yesterday.
Yeah, completely forgot that. That was I was probably smoking a lot more back then, and it just that's on me. I was very excited about it because I was like, it's a great way to cash in now. We'll get everyone who's Googling St. Bridget's crosses.
Well, I was in rural Mayo as opposed to, big city Mayo. I was way out in Belmullet the other day, and I went into a petrol station and at the till they were selling St. Bridget's crosses, and I completely forgot what weekend it was, and I was just like, rural Ireland, there it is. And it was only yesterday. I was like, of course.
Do you reckon that they have the kids from the local primary school making those as well?
I'd say so. I'd say that's a good bit of slave labour.
Is that
child labour?
I was going to say, is that technically child labour? It is.
It is, but it's the same as
It's not child labour if you get off class to do it.
No,
that's your payment.
Well, they used to have potato days or potato weeks. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, we had egg and spoon races. And sometimes if you didn't have an egg, you'd use a potato.
I'm pretty sure in the 60s and 70s, schools would just have holidays where the children would be allowed off to go help with the crops, to go potato picking.
Yes.
I don't know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure the reason that we have summer holidays is not for the good of the child, but because of seasonal farming.
Maybe. I mean, every other country has them as well, though, but they're not as long. Most other countries, it's kind of 8 weeks, 6-8 weeks, and we're kind of 3-4 months. Fuck it, don't bother going back.
Don't bother, there's prime and midterm breaks, sure, that's only for planting. And Christmas breaks, sure, that's only for breaking up the clods of frozen soil to get ready for next year's harvest.
Now, when I said at the beginning of this podcast, what do we have to say in the intro?
I know that you meant my ramblings about the origins of children's holidays. I don't know. Yeah, we did the first of the film club episodes there last weekend. We watched Waking Ned Divine.
I'm editing that as we speak. Well, not as we speak right now. No. I don't have that. I can't do two things at once. But I am editing that, and that'll be out hopefully tonight or else tomorrow, which will be in the past by the time people are listening to this episode.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you want to see that film, I was going to say you can buy it somewhere. You can probably just illegally stream that, but you can pay to listen to us talk about it on our Patreon amongst all of our live gigs. What else? We have specials up there. We have a bunch of other episodes, more to come. It's a good time to get it now because we're going to be busy for February. So you'll have another 3 exclusive behind the paywall episodes.
Yeah. Doing it at the start of the month is always the best time to do it. Not that there's any wrong time to do it, but you do get your money's worth around the start of the month.
Yeah, well, I suppose you get your money's worth anyway because you still get access to all the
that's
content.
True. But if you do it in the last day of the month, you'll get charged twice in a row and feel wronged.
Yeah, you'll get charged 3 or 4 days after. I've even seen some people signed up in the last couple of days, and I'm like, it's their own fault for skipping the intro because I do try to tell people in the intro that don't do that. But if you want to skip the intro, that's the price you pay.
And that price is €5.
Yes, or if you have more money, you're free to do that as well. There is also a €3 option that doesn't give you access to any of that content, and a lot of people pay for that, and then within about 5 minutes of paying for it, they go back and up their membership because they've realised that they don't get that content.
That's on our list of things to do. We need to delete that tier, but you can't delete it while people are subscribed to it, and you can't unsubscribe them. They have to do it themselves, and yeah. But we're working on it.
Yeah, it's a bit cheeky to turn around and be like, thanks for the €3, but how about 5?
Yeah, just give another 2 and you can get access to the things that you want. But apart from that, yeah, well, instead of rants about public holidays, we should do a shout out. We haven't done a shout out in ages. We're going to bring them back for 2022.
Is that specifically because someone asked us to do it?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, someone asked us, not just someone, Jason, someone who's been supporting us financially for quite a while. He did promise us oranges at one stage.
Back to a time gone by.
Very good. Very well done. He did promise us a punnet of oranges at some time, which he never delivered on. But, you know, he's not perfect.
He does live in a different country, I believe, so it's going to be tough to get those oranges here.
They don't have oranges in... I don't know which country.
I think I was living I think it was America. I think I was over there and I said, well, like, Kevin can't have the oranges, but I definitely could.
Yeah.
Or some sort of a voucher for oranges, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, like, tangerines.
Clementines.
You know, we're not fussy in that regard. I feel we've already gotten off topic. What we were meant to say is congratulations, Graham Hartness, on the birth of your daughter, Amelia Hartness. And Amelia, if you're listening to this someday in the distant future, your father's a sound man. Fair play to him.
Yeah.
Forget about that thing we said about the oranges. He's always been sound to us.
Someday I feel like we will meet him and he will bring us oranges, though.
Yes.
Like at a live gig in America, or if he's ever over here, and I will want them.
Yeah. But yeah, congratulations to you, Graham, and to the mother of your child, and to Amelia herself. Amelia Harkness. A fine name.
A great name.
A great name.
A solid name. Do you know who else has a very good name?
Whom?
Thomas Meagher, who this story is about.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the first point. Is it Thomas Meagher or Thomas Meagher? Because the Americans say Meagher, I think.
They do, but I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, because I think they'd be wrong in this case.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not 100% confident in it.
I've rattled you too early in this.
You have. I don't know now. I hadn't, because I'd read that in the research.
I can see you looking through your notes now. Like,
oh, I'm sweating.
Oh, no. I have an awful lot of rhyming jokes later on in the third act that mightn't make sense.
Well, this man is from Waterford, so just wait until I make you pronounce that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll get you back. But yeah, we have a good story today. It's actually now that we've done the Pirate Queen, this is probably the most suggested episode.
Yes.
And I didn't want to do it because I wanted to go up to Montana first, and then I realised when I was there, I didn't do any research. I just saw the statue, and then I did some yoga beside it, and I smoked a joint. And you have that. I think that photo's on the Instagram.
No,
or if it's not, I'll put it up there.
No, it is, because I remember you've been talking about this for probably a year at this stage.
Oh, and way longer than that, I feel, yeah.
And all you did was smoke a joint beside a statue, and then I think you went and ate some wings and watched a soccer game, and then left.
That's the kind of research. I'm leaving no stone unturned.
Yeah.
But I think, in fairness, I think didn't I go to the bar? It's all a bit hazy because I was high, but I'm pretty sure I went to the Thomas Francis Meagher bar when I was there.
It was their fault for putting the museum in a bar, in fairness. It was a trap.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even in, because that was in a separate place. It wasn't even in Helena. That was in a separate place, and I didn't also know the bar was there. I just walked by it, and I was like, that's the guy. That's the man.
Yeah.
And then in researching it further, I've realised that if I had done any research beforehand, I'd have known that there was a lot of other statues and things there I could have taken photos of, and I just didn't. So
I should listen.
Yeah, we've got people listening in Montana, though. Maybe we can get them to send us photos.
Yeah.
Of them.
Beside the statues.
Yeah. You know who you are, Mr. Montana Man. You do that for us. And in the meantime, we'll get along with his story.
Yeah. So you've introduced the character for this week's episode. This is an episode about Thomas Francis Meagher.
quickly before we get into this episode, should let you know that we've just realised after finishing what we've just done, we need to do a second part of it. And so that will be, as always, like we like to do, to siphon more money out of people and trick you into paying for the Patreon. That's going to be behind the paywall on the Patreon.
The first episode's a self-contained story about a man, a revolutionary.
Yes.
It deals with his whole time. And then the second episode is going to just be, the second chapter in his life. So you can have a full story, listen to this, and if by the end of it you're like, fuck, I want to know what happens to him, but I don't want to read it from Wikipedia like some sort of dweeb, then head on over to the Patreon.
Yeah, no, this is the end of his Irish revolutionary roots and all of that story. And then there's a whole other story coming after that. So we'll chat to some of you there, maybe some new people. But if you don't want to get all teased, just don't listen.
Just read the whole thing on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But we just finished it there. It's a good crack. It's a good episode.
Listen to all of this. Yeah. And then you're like, I'm not going to pay that £5. Go read the rest of it on Wikipedia.
Perfect. A perfect compromise.
Yeah. So, enjoy this anyway. Good luck.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, on search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. Discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall. Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish lineage to find. Joseph from Carlisle and Catherine the Dog guide you through the ways of Shifall.
Thomas Meagher was born in 1764. A Tipperary man, possibly, but he emigrated to America from Tipperary. To Newfoundland, I should say. That is not America.
I thought you were going to crack the other half, because I can guarantee he didn't emigrate from Tipperary.
Why not?
Did he set sail from Cashel Port? Or perhaps the fine docks of Clonmel?
Well, I'd be kind of thinking of, do you remember the Michael Fassbender Guinness ad? I think Lenny Abrahamson directed that one. And they play Heyday, the Christopher song.
Is that Michael Fassbender?
Yeah. And he walks across and he walks all through Ireland and then jumps into the ocean and swims across and then walks through lads in New York playing basketball. Yeah. Goes and finds his brother and he's like, crack.
Straight in for a pint. I hadn't watched that, but I thought about that a fair bit during lockdown when America was open and I couldn't get a pint here for months. And I was like,
you're thinking of swimming.
I'm just thinking there's precedent. I'm just saying it's possible. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just saying conceptually, if this goes on for another month or so, I have options.
Yeah, it's weird now because I guess adverts, they have to keep doing new ones. We've been talking recently about Guinness and the fact that they have a million different slogans. I was just in the Guinness storehouse, so we will do a Guinness episode soon. Sure, but you'd think when it's such a big advert like that, and he wasn't a big name at the time. He was like a young actor.
Yeah,
keep playing that ad. Keep using that. Now you have Michael Fassbender in an ad, and you're not paying him millions. I think they have Jamie Dornan now that they're paying money for him to drink Guinness, and the look at him, he's not drinking Guinness. He's in far too good of a shape.
Man's never drank a Guinness in his life.
No, so he's in Newfoundland. He heads over there as a teen in about 1780 to be an apprentice to a clothier with the surname Crotty. Crotty's Clothies.
Nice.
That's not the name of the store, but it might have been. It might have exactly been what I would have called it.
Yeah.
Now, Crotty dies, and Meagher marries his widow, Mary, and took over the business.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. That's a real apprentice.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Thomas, you've been with me 6 months. It's time we started looking at your other duties in taking over the business. Here's the styles my wife enjoys, and we'll be giving you a trial run for this evening.
Well, I'll let you fill in the blanks yourself, but I'm going to
That's what he said to Thomas.
Oh, I reckon he killed him for no reason. I have no proof of that, but it would make the story a little saucier.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. This is the Hollywood treatment. Whenever there's an already, because I know bits of this story, it's already a fascinating story. But the second there's a movie option of it, they're like, well, who's he fucking? What's going on here? What's the love angle? What if he killed that man? We need something. We need to grab you. I mean, we're talking about this story, and we've already got distracted and started talking about harp ads from 20 years ago.
Well, then, no, you're right. I'm going to get on with this because we have a lot to talk about because he's a very important man, this Thomas Meagher. He's done well for himself. He grows the business, eventually starts buying some ships, diversifies a little bit. First ship named after Mary, Mary Crotty, or now Mary Meagher. The second one, after what I assume is a robot wife, because he's called it the Triton.
Cool, yeah. Triton for his second ship.
His mistress. His
Okay.
mistress robot lady. In late 1809, he's in the shipping game, obviously, with these ships. They're not just there as ornaments. What's a good thing to ship from Newfoundland?
The Labradors.
Oh, good. Or like thrash metal bands. But 1,350 quintals of cod shipped straight back to Waterford. Because Ireland doesn't have enough fish, of course.
What the heck? How? Okay.
Do you know what a quintal is?
No, I have no idea what a quintal is. I have no idea how you keep fish fresh in 1809 across the Atlantic. Fresher than you get them off the coast of Waterford.
I believe that you'd store them in a filing cabinet.
Ah, yes, of course. What's a quintal? Five
It's
something.
100.
Oh, okay.
It's a unit, so it could be pounds, could be kgs, could be anything. I don't know if it was, but it's 1,350 quintals of cod,
Okay.
amongst other things. Other things that Irish people would need, like hurleys and slitters and shamrocks, and iron sweaters and faux left-centre politicians who run the country like a dictatorship. I think the rest of Europe probably needed fish, though. And maybe it's easier to, if you send over a huge amount of it from Newfoundland, you can just pass it off as Irish fish.
Well,
That's where my mind went.
Yeah, Irish people don't really eat fish as much as you would assume for an island nation.
No.
We ship a lot of it. We catch a lot of fish.
Mm-hmm.
And fishing rights is one of the biggest things that the government cares about. But it's mostly to be sold to the Mediterranean.
Yeah, even actually, it's in the news now with the Russians and that, and all the lads in Cork going out to fight the Russians.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what
fish.
the Russian Navy was doing some military exercise off the coast of Ireland, and the Irish fishermen put a stop to it somehow.
Yeah, they went out there and went hand to hand, man to man, much like how Brian McFadden was going to fight ISIS.
Oh yeah. And well, I'll tell you this: when's the last time you heard of ISIS?
When was the last time you heard of Brian McFadden?
Brian McFadden's still going strong.
Didn't he at some point try to put someone down on like a radio show saying, say what you want about the toy show, I'm going to make more in 2 hours of work than you are all year doing your radio show. And then it leaked how much he was getting paid, and it was 1,500 quid.
Yeah.
The TV3 toy show.
Ooh.
I don't think they do it anymore. I think it was a one-off bad idea.
Yeah, that does seem like a sad shadow.
Yeah. Now, on the return journeys, these ships would bring back Irish emigrants.
Okay. Ireland's greatest export.
Which I'm going to say is a big reason why the Newfoundland people sound the way they do.
Oh, yeah. They have real Irish English accents.
Yeah, so it's probably I'm not going to say it's all this lad. Probably a lot of it.
So do you reckon this makes a lot more sense? They didn't really want the fish at all. They just wanted the free passage back.
Yeah.
They were just ordering quintal after quintal after fish and be like, yeah, that's Grant Thomas. Dump that over there. Now, on your way back, if you'd be a good lad and bring these 400 starving Irish citizens with you.
Well, so 62, I believe, I saw on one thing, it said like 62 people, but I'm like 1,350 quintals or whatever it is. So it's a lot of fish. I reckon you can get more than 62 people on. And also, you're sending a lot of fish over, and it's probably a lot of starving Irish people leaving and emigrating.
Well, I guess in the early 1800s, it's not that bad. 62 is probably luxury travel. You haven't got into like the famine coffin ship era yet.
Yeah, it's just, I assume it's taken a good few months, like 3 or 4 months, and it's a ship that used to, like, just recently had dropped over fucking tons of cod. So it's going to be stinky as shit.
Well, I don't think the people back then were as precious about smells as we are.
Maybe not.
They probably enjoy it. You know what else smells of fish? The sea, which you're going to be on for 3 months. So, you know, it's much of a muchness.
That's fair. But now I've realised I've jumped ahead a little bit, because in 1796 he had a son called Thomas Meagher, who this story's actually about. I set you up, Kev.
You did. Damn. Thomas Meagher Jr.
Yeah, so when he was in his 20s, he was sent back to Ireland so he could run the Irish side of the business, those operations, from Waterford. And things went well. And after a thriving business career, he thought, what's the next logical step?
After Fish for Men.
Mayor of Waterford.
You all know me. I've been helping the brain drain in this region for nigh on 30 years now. Remember your sons and daughters that left and you haven't seen them since? Remember the buckets and buckets of fish I've helped bring in here? Vote me for Mayor of Waterford.
It's a successful businessman, though. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does it.
You're going to run this city like a business. But so after the 2 years in office as mayor, things have gone well, and he goes, what's the next step? MP. Run for election.
Yeah.
Government. And then he was re-elected in 1852, so another 5 years, and then he stood down at the 1857 election. And here's a little tidbit about him. First Catholic to hold the role for 200 years, seemingly.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's what I'd read. Now, I don't know if he married in Newfoundland or in Waterford, but he had a wife. Her name was, I'm going to spell this out for you and you can pronounce it for me, because I have Alicia.
Either Alice or Alicia.
Yeah, or like Alicia. I'm not sure.
Alicia.
And the reason I've thrown it to you there is because I did date a girl a few years ago, and that was her name.
Yeah.
And I realised after like the first date, I never asked how to pronounce it, because I just seen it wrote down, or like on Tinder or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like a month or two went by, and I just never said her name.
Mm-hmm.
So I still to this day don't know. And then when I went on to YouTube to go onto one of those like pronunciation videos, you type in the name, they're like, this is how you say it. And I just put that in and it said Alicia. I was like, got it. And then it just went, or Alicia.
You just call her Alice.
No.
Al.
I don't know.
A.
You. Her. She.
Herself.
Anyway,
he
married
I was talking to our Belgian friend, and he's been living here for a couple of months, and he was referring to his girlfriend as like the girlfriend or the missus. I was like, that's, you love to see it. Naturalization. they don't say that in Belgium.
No, becoming more Irish than the Irish themselves.
Yeah.
So his wife, Alicia Quain Meagher, had 5 kids. 2 of them survived childhood, batting 400 there, not bad.
Yeah, good ratio.
She was from a family of a giant trading company in Waterford.
Right.
Wise, Cashin and Quain.
Okay, so this is a union of love.
Yes, and business.
Yeah, a love of business.
Yes. And the 2 that survived, the kids.
The real Thomas Meagher.
Yes. Oh, you caught me out. This is Thomas Francis Meagher.
Ah! I was only joking. Okay. Because I was wondering why you hadn't said Francis yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
Ah.
Yeah, I wanted to give you backstory for the family.
That's a lot of backstory. I like it. Okay.
So they had his sister's name was Christine Mary Meagher. I'll just finish up all the backstory. I suppose she doesn't come into it again, so it's not important. And his granddad's business, the one over in Newfoundland, it burnt down in 1817. They tried to rebuild it, but then declared insolvency in 1820. But the Irish side of the business is still going strong.
Right.
So now our story begins. Thomas Francis Meagher, born on August 3rd, 1823 in Waterfjord City. His ma died in childbirth when he was 3.
Right. So not his
other
childbirth.
No, I think one of his, maybe another sister who died or something like that. Yeah. He spent his early years in boarding schools, religious ones, Roman Catholic, as was the style at the time, before heading off to Clongowes at the age of 11. Fancy Jesuit place.
Yeah, I didn't know Clongowes had been around that long.
Yeah. While there, he was in the debating society, and when he was 15, shut the fuck up. Let me talk.
I can tell you've been in the debate society yourself.
Yeah, seemingly he was so good at it that he won a medal for arguing when he was 15.
Okay.
I think some people say debating. I say arguing.
It is basically arguing, yeah.
Now, he left there after graduating to study at Stonyhurst College, Lancashire, England. Again, Jesuit. His dad didn't want to send him to Trinity because why, Kevin?
It was Protestants only.
He'd said it was too anti-Irish and anti-Catholic.
Yeah.
It said that he was a prodigious student, but his professors had a tough time over in Lancashire understanding what the fuck he was saying with his big old bogman accent.
Yeah, okay.
To fix this, he adopted a rich Irish Protestant accent, which his countrymen loved when he returned to Ireland in 1843 at the age of about 20.
If there's one thing we're known for, it's forgiveness of... If anyone leaves their hometown and then comes back with an affectation, they'll never be allowed to hear the end of it.
Or even if they don't change their accent
even if they
whatsoever.
don't, it's assumed that they have.
Yeah. We probably both fall into that trap, I guess. I definitely used to be a lot rawer.
Yeah, but I saw men come back from Trinity back to Dundalk wearing scarves and fancy coats within a couple of months.
Instead of just a shirt, an untucked, unbuttoned shirt.
Instead of looking like Seamus Finnegan from the Harry Potter series.
Or
That's
me
the
in
look.
Belfast.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
True.
were in a bar and Kevin started talking to some lads from Belfast, and I was over with my American friend, and Kevin said, guess which one of those two over there is Irish and which one's American. And then they said, well, is it your man with the shirt hanging out of his back? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the unkempt.
It's the rough and
stupid-looking
tumble
Irish.
charm of the everyman, the poet, the farmer.
The drunken Irishman having way too many pints in Belfast.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're known for.
Yeah. Now, Thomas Francis Meagher had to hum and haw over whether he'd join the Austrian army, which was a common thing at the time
Interesting.
for
What?
the gentry, I believe, or like
Well,
the
like-
the richer lads.
In 1830.
It's the 40s now, but yeah.
All right. Okay.
And I think because they probably didn't want to join the English army, and Ireland wouldn't have had their own one where you could
No.
actually have an honourable enough, noble enough job there. So we probably wouldn't even have been allowed an army at the time. So it was more common to go over to Austria.
Okay.
But instead of following through with that, he decided to go to Dublin and start studying law. He set off for there, 1844, and became involved instantly in the repeal movement.
Okay. Right.
The Repeal Association, Daniel O'Connell's anti-Act of Union gang, the rabble-rousers. That's why the Tivoli, did you know, was built for that reason, as a meeting place.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it used to be called Conciliation Hill, and it was there for the repeal movement.
Okay.
Different kind of repeal movement that we kind of grew up with.
Well, I don't know if we grew up with it, but yeah. I don't know if there's any people that were at the time of 2016, so people walking around with repeal jumpers and be like, get that damn Act of Union out of here. It's been too long.
We could do that, though, as a T-shirt for this podcast.
Yeah, maybe. So, the Act of Union was 1801 or so.
Oh, you'd
It
know
had been
better than I would. I've got a script in front of me, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I guess it's been around for 40 years.
The Act of Union's still there, full swing.
So the Act of Union was that they decentralised power from... They took power away from the Parliament in Dublin, and you had to do everything through Westminster.
Yeah, basically it's the first foothold in them just trying to get an independent Ireland again. Where they're like,
Yeah. So getting rid of the Act of Union means bringing a government back to Ireland. Even if it's still under the United Kingdom, it means at least there's an Irish Parliament.
And then once you have your own parliament there, you can start planning stuff.
Exactly, yeah. It's the first step where you're like, no, it's all we want is our own parliament. That's all we've ever wanted. And then 2 days after that's set up, you're like, right, now, a free Ireland for all.
Yeah, the banners unfurl and it's just a baby Michael Collins. He's like,
Yeah.
the prophecy shall be fulfilled.
So he's studying law and he's joined up with the repeal movement.
Yeah, I don't know how much law he actually studied, because it seems like he got up there and just instantly. Now, obviously, he'd been in Lancashire, so they wouldn't have talked much about over there of the rights of Irish people and what the country wanted.
No, I
and
guess
seemingly when he was in Clongowes, it was much the same. So this was probably one of his big first experiences with it, which is weird because I'll get onto it in a minute. But because his dad is very a proud Irishman and Catholic, so it's just weird that his son didn't really understand that. That's what I'd read, and I was like, well, surely the dad would be birding the ears off about it, but he'd sent him to boarding school.
Yeah, that's what I was going. Yeah, he sent him away for. You said he came back at like 20. He did seem to send him away for all of his teenage years. When that's the perfect time. You have to rile people up in their teenage years, or else it won't take as much.
Yeah, but remember that lad at the podcast in Kilkenny, the live show, who was able to recite
Yeah.
that poem, and we
Yeah.
were like, how do you know how to do that? He's like, my granddad used to say it to me to put me to bed, and then also when he would fall asleep, just when he'd be sitting on his knee in the chair. So
Yeah.
what was the dad doing for the first 11 years of his life?
That's true. You got to get in. You got to get in early.
And now when he's up there, he's making up for lost time, but his dad didn't tell him stuff because he started reading The Nation.
Okay. Well, maybe his dad was... Because his dad was an MP in Westminster.
Yeah.
So maybe his dad didn't care.
No, well, he was the first Catholic to hold the position there for 200 years, so I'd say it was...
Maybe he was like,
pretty
I've got mine, Jack.
Also, maybe he just wasn't around a whole lot when he was younger because he was over in Westminster.
Yeah, probably.
Repeal, just so I can go home and see my children. It's a 4-month journey to get back to Ireland.
It's like people now that we have to go back to the office are arguing for like work from home laws so that they can get rid of the commute. They just wanted to repeal the unions. We wouldn't have to commute to London every week.
I agree with it, with all of that in a sense, but then it was weird that people were very upset when was it Varadkar or someone came out and was like, no, we're not going to make laws to make sure that you're allowed to work from home if you want. I'm like, yeah, it would be weird to do that.
Well, they've made a law that as far as I know, you can ask your employer and they have to give you a reason, and like a proper reason that's not just because. Because,
yeah, I need to see you at the desk to make sure you're doing work. It's like, why don't you just check my workload? You're like, I don't know
what the last 2 years?
I don't know what this business is.
Yeah, I need you in this building to justify my position as middle management. And also, we spent an awful lot of money renting this place. So it'd be quite foolish if that went to waste.
They could rent that out to people sleeping.
Yeah, listen, that's too forward thinking.
That is too forward thinking.
There's probably a week there.
Let's get back to the past.
Yeah, where things make sense. So he's reading The Nation.
Yeah, he's reading The Nation.
The paper that everyone that we've written about from this period has written for. Every episode we've done about someone from the 1840s is written for The Nation.
Because it's Mitchell, isn't it? It's John Mitchell.
Yeah. And all of them, all the young Irelanders.
This is, it'd be like, it's like how everyone gets to write for Hot Press these days. Shout out Matthew Tallon.
Yes, yeah.
A very good piece, just might I add. Everyone should go read that about why comedy isn't seen as an art form in Ireland. And it's absolute bollocks. Yeah. But his dad's definitely Thomas Francis Meagher, not Matthew Tallon. His dad is definitely like a staunch Republican, because when they go down to Waterford to go to a repeal like meeting or a march or whatever, I was going to say a march is a very different march than the repeal that we've been used to. Yeah. His dad's there, and he's on board with all of this. Yeah. And now his son, or maybe it's like a bonding experience. He's like, what's my son into? We've lost out on so much of our relationship. I just want to pick whatever he's into. Is it dance? Is it theatre? It's actually the repeal movement. Fantastic.
Easy. There's a march on this weekend.
Like if I got into like vintage cars, my dad would be so happy.
Yes. Although I suppose the analogy for this would be like if your dad got into podcasts to try and relate to you.
Yeah,
which will be very funny.
Which is not going to happen. He doesn't know what that is. He still doesn't know what a podcast is.
I was listening to the latest Come Town there this evening, Jason. I like Stav's laughter. I think it adds something to the ambience of the show. I'm real.
Suck my fucking penis.
I'm partial.
I really liked it when they call Adam gay. It was.
And you just have a tear in your eye. Give your old man a hug.
But Thomas was junior, the youngest lad, Francis. He was working as a secretary at these meetings down in Waterford for the movement. So he's fully on board. He's in it now. He's in the midst of it. At this time, 1846, the Tory party in England lost its power to the Liberals, and Daniel O'Connell tried to get the repeal movement to support this new Liberal government. Because they're saying, "Oh, we'll be sounder to you, don't worry, and we'll help fund you and stuff as well." And Meagher and a bunch of the other young Irelanders were saying, "Feck that. It's just basically a way to get subordination. Like, we'll be nicer to you, we'll give you money, there's a pathway here." And as Thomas Francis Meagher put it, we'd be purchased back into factious vassalage.
So you'd be a vassal.
It's like basically subordination that would just be under the thumb again, but in a slightly new manner.
Yeah, so Daniel O'Connell wants to go the political way and leverage all of the Irish MPs to cozy up to the Liberal Party, get them in power, and then go back to how things were in the late 1790s.
We get our
yeah. Whereas the young Irelanders are like, no, let's go the full hog.
Yes, we want the whole thing, but
the whole enchilada. What's an enchilada? I have no idea, but I want it. The whole thing.
His dad wasn't in Mexico shipping back quintals of quesadillas.
Chimichangas.
In Ireland, we call them Jimmy Changas.
Yeah.
But denouncing the idea of supporting that government and English liberalism in Ireland, saying they couldn't support an English government unless they repealed the Acts of Union, Meagher and the other boyos divided opinion in the movement. There was a lot of men who wanted to go about things through government, like you just said, gaining seats and political power themselves, maybe in some kind of a selfish manner. I'm saying that. None of the stuff I read said that. Yeah. And as such, went about saying these young bucks were revolutionaries, enemies of the church, despite their claims of being quite the opposite. And in July that year, so very shortly after, about a month or so, I think, the Liberals in England took power, O'Connell and his men declared that violence should never be used as a means to an end in pursuit of repeal. Now, until this point, the Young Irelanders hadn't broached the subject of violence.
But now that it's on the table.
Yeah, but yeah, much like telling the man to calm down when he's already a little bit annoyed, you've just exacerbated the idea.
Yeah.
It's like Inception. It's in there now. You've planted the seed. And O'Connell, still working with the Whig government, which they're called Lord Russell's Liberals, and his homies, came up with the peace resolutions. And again, Meagher didn't want to use force, but he did say that if repeal couldn't be... the peace resolutions were basically the same thing. Like, you should never use violence to get this, and they put that basically into a law. They're like, well, we haven't done it yet. We haven't even said that.
Yeah. It's good that they had some in the 1840s that they write a law to be like, don't use violence to get what you want.
Yeah.
No one had thought of that yet.
But Meagher, who didn't want to use force, but did say that if repeal couldn't be successful through honourable moral means, then maybe they'd have to look at some other avenues. But, still honourable, just other avenues.
Yeah.
The resolutions were proposed again a few weeks afterwards, and Meagher gave his infamous sword speech, which was edited by Arthur Griffith.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to give you a smaller version of this because it's way too long.
Okay.
And by that, I mean, I didn't read the whole thing.
Of course. What age was Arthur Griffith then?
Probably young enough. I think this is like 18? Yeah, no, he would have been young. Oh, sure, all the lads are pretty young.
Yeah. They're the Young Irelanders.
Yeah. The errors of the past may be repaired. The hopes of the future will not be fulfilled. With a vote in one pocket, a lease in the other, and full justice before him at the petty sessions, in the shape of restored magistrate, the humblest peasant may be told that he is free. But, my lord, he will not have the character of a free man, his spirit to dare, his energy to act. So he said, it's going to be shite.
Yeah.
If they
may think they're free, but they won't be.
Yeah, and he also said, I dissented from them, peace resolutions, for I felt that by assenting to them, I should have pledged myself to the unqualified repudiation of physical force in all countries, at all times, and in every circumstance. This I could not do, for, my lord, I do not abhor the use of arms in the vindication of national rights. That, like, occasionally, it's needed.
Yeah. Pull the sword out.
There's way more to that, but it's very, very long and very flowerful language that's I can't pronounce a lot of.
People had very little to be at back then. Like, if a man was giving a speech, you'd really want it to go on for 4 hours.
There was no films at the time.
No, even when there were films, like, I was talking this morning about Gone with the Wind. When I first saw Gone with the Wind, the file I downloaded had like a 15-minute title screen in the middle that just said intermission. But that's what people want.
They could have edited that down.
Well, yeah, you could, but that's what people wanted, So it was like 4.5 hours long.
I used to want that. I think, the Harry Potter or something did it when maybe the first one.
What, had an intermission?
Yeah, when I was younger, I think it was Harry Potter, watching that film when I was a kid, and I was like, great, I get to go for a piss. Okay. And you don't miss anything. And you're like, right, well, how about if you did do it? If a film's 2.5, 3 hours, halfway through, lads, you have 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm on board. Bring it back.
Not a crazy idea.
I mean, I've gone to the cinema twice in the last 3 years, but still, when I am there, they're very short films because I don't have the attention span.
Yeah.
But John O'Connell, during all of this, when he's given this speech, that's Daniel's son, he interrupts Meagher. Seems like he's got most of it out anyway, because I've read the speech. It's very, very long. So it's like, everywhere I read said, he's interrupted him. It's like, well...
Can we go for a piss?
Yeah, this is quite a lot. But he had said that the two lads are obviously disagreeing on what to do. One of them's going to have to leave. And the dissenters all said, feck this, and bounced out. Because they were saying it's suppression of free speech. You should have let the man talk. The opposite of what this movement about. A nation divided. Mm-hmm. Now, in January 1847, so 5 or 6 months after this, Thomas Francis Meagher, John Mitchell, William Smith O'Brien, he's one of the founders of the repeal movement as well, and he walked out, one of the first to walk out, one of the big head honchos when John O'Connell was being a dick. And Thomas Devon Riley founded the Irish Confederation, a new repeal movement.
The New Confederates.
The year after Meagher and William Smith O'Brien went to France to study wine and bread and smoking cigarettes eloquently, and the revolutionary ideas that seemed to work for them over there.
Nothing to do with, yeah, so that was like at the height of the famine in Ireland as well. Like, maybe this is a good time to go to France and learn about cigarettes.
Yeah, well, it is a good. In fairness, it's a good time to go over and learn about revolutions.
Yeah, that is true.
And upon returning, what did they have with them, Kev?
Well, by God, Jason, they were the first Irish men to come back draped in the tricolour.
Well, yes, they were.
Yes.
Now, can you tell the listeners what the tricolour used to look like back then?
What it used to look like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming it was green, white, and orange, but it also had a harp in the middle.
It had the red hand of Ulster in the middle.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And it looked more like Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast because it was orange, white, and green.
Right, and then with the red hand of Ulster,
it.
so they're really placating to the other
Yeah,
side.
they're trying to get all the lads up north on board.
Yeah, okay.
You can go first and we'll have your hand. Nick
Well,
Cave
maybe
would be delighted.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this with Brian and James, actually, about if you unified the country, what would the new flag be? There's an idea. I'd go with that. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I like
the Ivory
that as well.
Coast wouldn't be happy, but, you know, what are they going to do?
Beat us at football, probably.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah. But it was a French lady that actually made it for them.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, handed it off as like a parting gift.
What's this? We should say then for anyone, because it sounds like folk history, but I think it is actually true that it was made with the idea of the orange being Protestant, the green being the Irish Republican movement, and then the white being the peace between them. It was a new flag for a new nation.
Yes, because that's actually, I have a quote about it here. Now, this comes from a one Thomas Francis Meagher, the lad the story's about.
Oh yes, yeah, the aforementioned.
The white in the centre signifies a lasting truce between the orange and the green, and I trust that beneath its folds the hands of the Irish Protestant and the Irish Catholic may be clasped in generous and heroic brotherhood. It was flown first.
Because I said the Irish Republican movement back then, but yeah, the Irish Catholic movement.
Yeah,
they should put all the. Do you ever see like the Connacht flag? It's like a half bird, half
it's cool.
Man's arm with a sword. Fucking put that on there. It's cool as shit.
Get them all in.
And
a harp and a pint of Guinness.
Yeah, and 3 crowns for Munster. I think we should just make it the most complicated looking flag possible.
And a plough and some stars.
Yeah.
And a boxing glove.
Sure.
What else do I like?
Well, do you have the name of the French lady who made the flag, or is it just French woman?
Her name, lucky enough, was Old French Lady.
Nice. That's handy.
Yeah. The flag was flown first on March 1st, 1848 at the Waterfjord by-election. It was first flown at the Mall, number 33, only a stone's throw from where Meagher had lived the first 2 years of his life, down at number 19.
Okay.
Yeah, the Mall is a square or whatever down in Waterfjord.
Yeah.
He had a Wolf Tone Confederate club. He was like running a club there, basically.
Okay.
And this was where it went up. And what happened in 1848 Ireland, Kevin?
The famine continued.
There is that. And what was the other big thing? Well, obviously the famine's a pretty big thing. What was the other thing that happened?
It was the Young Irelander Revolution.
It was. By God, and it was.
Yeah.
In particular, there was the Battle of Ballingarry. This is the one that Thomas Francis Meagher had been involved in, also known as the Famine Rebellion. It took place on July 29th, a few miles north of the village of Ballingarry, Tipperary. This was about a week after habeas corpus was suspended, and the Young Irelanders decided now was the time to make a stand. Do you want to explain to the listeners what habeas corpus is?
I've looked this up so many times, and I can never... It's like
we've had it before on the talking about the land acts of whatever.
Yeah, it comes up all the time because they're always it's the right not to perjure yourself, is it?
No, it's when you're allowed to throw someone into jail without a fair trial.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So then that's when the Young Irelanders are like, what now? But it seems like this is specifically something for us.
Yeah. We heard you've been flying flags and throwing stones down there in Waterford.
You've been walking around with your jeans rolled up so we can see your ankles. That's a paddling.
That is a paddling.
So going around Kilkenny, Wexford and Tipperary, trying to rile up support for the lads. And that's what Meagher was up to himself. And on the 29th, when the military and police came down to arrest William Smith O'Brien, your man had said earlier, walked out.
Yeah.
They were in the Commons, which is just outside Ballingarry. I think it's like a mine. But his local supporters, small tenant farmers, tradesmen, miners and such, had set up barricades to prevent the arrest. The soldiers thought this might not be the best time, so they swung a right and set off for Kilkenny. Now the rebels, who the boys had recruited at this stage, followed them, and 47 no good nicks holed up in 2 farmhouses, taking 5 children as hostages, these policemen.
Oh.
And military boys, wherever.
The dirty dogs.
Yeah, and they begin a standoff. The mother of the kids and owner of the house, Margaret McCormick, was refused entry to the house, and they wouldn't give her back her kids. She spots O'Brien scoping out the gaff for possible entry points of attack and such. She goes, what's going to happen to me kids here now? And O'Brien goes, shite, you're right, okay. So he brings her up to the parlour room and starts negotiating with the captors, these police.
Okay.
Says, we are all Irishmen. Give up your guns and you are free to go. And there's accounts that he shakes hands with some of the police through the window. And then what happens next is up for debate. If you're also the kind of person that thinks the Branch Davidians fired first at the ATF.
Okay.
They shot at O'Brien. And that's what I'm saying. Much like the ATF shot first. This standoff now gets a little bit more Mexican.
Right. So he's gone down and shook hands with them, and then they shot at him.
Yes. They were like agreeing everything, and it was probably just one fella who was a bit trigger happy and kind of nervous, and shot goes. Maybe it hits a dog, and then maybe other people start shooting, and then maybe they throw tear gas in that's completely unnecessary, and then maybe they start firebombing. That's it. No, I've gone back to the other one then. Yeah. But this went on for hours. Police with a better position for a gunfight, given the fact that they're in the house with windows as kind of like cover, and they can shoot out those, and all the rebels are like hiding behind walls and gates and out in the open. So they shoot a few of the rebels, and then as often what happens when you get shot, they die.
Yeah.
So Catholic reverend, which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah, what sort of hellish mix is that?
I assumed someone knew that I was going to write this podcast. And they were like, I'll have him on. But no, yeah, it's all like Catholic reverend. So I was like, unless his name was Reverend and he was just a Catholic.
Maybe.
And it was like Catholic Reverend Philip Fitzgerald.
It sounds like he's having an identity crisis. It's like in Age of Empires when you'd convert one of the monks from the other side.
Ah, yes. Or isn't there an episode where you go around and like find naked lads in the trees, just in like woods and stuff, and try to convert them as a monk to...
Yeah.
That's good too.
That's good as
Great
well.
game.
Yeah. Great game.
Great fucking game. I'm going to try and find that. Age of Empires 3, is that the one that you got free? I think a lot of Irish people got it free when they bought their first computer. It was like just handed out as a disc.
No, we had Age of Empires 2.
We had like Joan of Arc in our one, William Wallace and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's Age of Empires 2, I think.
Oh, I thought that was true. Either way, but great game.
Great stuff.
So this Philip Fitzgerald fella, Catholic reverend, he tries to mediate the problem. But it was only when the Cashel police came, to no avail, I think. But it was only when the Cashel police came, things started kind of damping down. The rebels tried to shoot at them, but already kind of low.
Like anything's dampening down.
Well, they are low on ammunition, so then it dampens down because they're like, feck.
Okay, it's time to negotiate.
Yeah. And when it looked like they're done for, because obviously now there's police forces on both sides of them, they do the honourable thing and they run away.
Yeah. Always
a good option to have.
Always.
This is known as the Battle of Widow McCormick's Cabbage Plot.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, which is the best.
Was she a widow before this battle?
I believe so, because they don't mention the husband. Unless maybe he was one of the rebels. Maybe. But no, I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe it was one of the rebels, and like as he's running away, he's like, this has been known as the Widow McCormick's. It's like, what? Get back here, you oh good son of a...
I've got 5 kids here.
Yeah. He's already writing the song as he's running away about the brave widow.
But so the English thought that this was wasn't good. It's not good crack. These rebels trying to attack, but ultimately they had to see it from the rebels' point of view. Their nation had been taken from them. They tried to get it back peacefully, and as such had no alternative than to resort to violence. So they agreed to go lenient on the men who were in charge of the revolution.
Very understanding of them.
Oh no, sorry. There was a newly passed law called ex post facto, which allows you to retroactively change the laws and punishments for crimes, and that meant that having been found guilty of sedition, the rebel leaders, including Meagher, were sentenced to be hanged, drawn, and quartered.
Yeah, that's more like the empire that I remember.
And then, fun note, sidebar, when we finally did get a constitution, they made it illegal to do that.
That seems like it. Yeah, so you can't
to go back retroactively and change laws.
To be very specifically just what the person you want to kill had done.
Yes.
And then change the penalty to be death.
But I would like to have been there when someone suggested that. Going, we can't do that. What if we change the law? Well, it's going to be too late now. What if we go back and change the law? But so what does Meagher do? He's pretty good at this. He's a good orator. Yeah. You know, he's been debating. He's won a medal for that when he's younger. He gave that great speech earlier on with the sword speech.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say he uses his other orating skills and he hops in a boat and flees.
No, but we'll get on to boat stuff later on.
Does he plea his case?
He did a famous speech called the Speech from the Dock.
He is on a boat.
Well, I'll give you some of this now. My lords, it is my intention to say a few words only. I desire that the last act of proceeding, which has occupied so much time of the public, should be of short duration. So here's the edited version of that speech, because it was far too long. It was 895 words. He's like, just a few quick words. Yeah, and it's a 10
Is he like, I'll keep it short because this procedure has already taken up too much of the public's time. As he sets up. But again, back then, if you were going to go see this thing, it took you a day to get there. You're like, I want my money's worth.
That is fair. And it is actually, this one, it's nowhere near as long as the last one, and it's quite good. But I will give you a shortened version, or just a couple of the main points. Did I fear that hereafter, when I shall be no more, the country I tried to serve would speak ill of me? I might indeed avail myself of this solemn moment to vindicate my sentiments and my conduct, but I have no such fear. The country will judge of those sentiments in a light far different from that in which the jury by whom I have been convicted have viewed them. And by the country, the sentence which you, my lords, are about to pronounce will be remembered only as the severe and solemn attestation of my rectitude and truth.
So he's like, right, whatever you say to me now, the people of this country in years to come will remember me a hero, and you will not come off well in the story.
Exactly.
There will be a podcast in the year 2022 where I am the hero and you are all the losers.
Which he's right in that sense.
He is, yeah. But I'd say all revolutionaries have some variation of that speech, and it just depends on what happens afterwards, whether it's true or not.
Yeah, it's a gamble. It's 50-50.
Yeah, you may as well go down swinging.
Yeah.
You're either right.
I'm sure there's dictators that have said the same before as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so Hussein or Gaddafi were like, well, just wait till you get rid of me. It's going to be way fucking worse.
Yeah.
Which actually, now in fairness, I've said that. I should give better examples.
Those are two good examples, yeah.
Yeah, especially Gaddafi. That place, a mess. Yeah. He goes on to say treason only counts if you go by, well, this is not a quote, basically that treason only really counts if you go by the English law or their viewpoint. As Irish people think he's doing a good thing, technically the opposite of treason, because he's trying to set his country free.
Yep.
He doesn't blame the Irish people who found him guilty, but does say that once convicted and sentenced to death, he'll go to a higher court where many wrong judgments are reversed. Heaven.
Okay, the biggest court of all.
Yeah, also that's a big one. It's like, you might say I'm guilty, but big man up there.
Yeah.
He knows. He knows the crack.
I'm going to be cleared by the G-man.
But while they were waiting, all the lads were waiting to be executed. A combination of the public saying "boo" and international pressure not to murder these men, they got a full pardon, which saw them sentenced to penal exile for the rest of their lives over in the other side of the world. Other side of the world is a quote.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
A full pardon's a bit misleading there. Maybe it's a full pardon. You're just being exiled forever.
Yeah. It's good though.
It is good news. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you're right. It's not a full pardon, but
if I was being told I'm not being executed and just being sent to Australia, I wouldn't be like, it's not a full pardon, is it? It's a bit of a misnomer. Technically, I'm just saying, don't be walking in here saying I've got a full pardon if it's not a full. I mean, I'm grateful and whatever, but
I know I'm a child mentally, but when I did I've heard the term before. When I saw it wrote down, it said penile exile, and I was like. They're going to send their dicks off to Tasmania.
You're not being executed, but what life is that for a man?
So it's 1849, and all the lads are sent to Van Diemen's Land, which is modern day Tasmania.
Yeah.
Where all the crooks went back in the day. They were sent to different corners, so they couldn't be chatting to each other. Kind of like punishing lads in school who were talking too much.
Yeah, you separate them out.
But also the other thing, I know I'm a child, because when I read Van Diemen's Land, I started thinking about, like, if they keep making Fast and the Furious movies and people keep going to watch them, Vin Diesel could buy Tasmania and call it Vin Diesel Land.
That's true. Yeah.
And none of that really rhymes or makes any sense.
Makes any sense? No, because you could buy anywhere and call it Vin Diesel Land.
Yeah.
No, whatever.
Yeah, it did take me a few minutes. I was like, that would be great. And I kind of daydreamed about that for a while. And then I got back to this story from the 1840s. So after hearing this decision on July 20th, 1849, Meagher wanted to, from that point onwards, be known as Thomas Francis O'Meagher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, more Irish.
That's no meager feat.
Yeah, but now, is it true? Because we've talked about this before. Do we ever get to the bottom of it? That, like,
the famine thing?
Taking the soup. No. You've said that that's not true.
I don't think
I've said that I would prefer it if it was.
Yes. I've put it on record saying I'd rather if that was true. Yeah, I don't think that specifically was true, but it probably is true in a sense. Families probably drop the O in order to get along.
Yeah, maybe, but then
like in Hollywood, right? People would change their name from like very Eastern European or Russian or like Jewish sounding names to more anglicized names in order to get roles. I assume people just did it, not necessarily for the soups, but they probably just did it to get jobs.
Like that's the spelling of stuff. Just it's not even like to assimilate easier. It's just because some people couldn't pronounce some of our like the names, like
sure.
like the forename and the surname.
Yeah,
but with an O, it's the easiest one.
Yeah, it's like, I guess it's a dead giveaway if it's an O apostrophe, and if they wanted to get a job in old Protestant Ireland.
Yeah, maybe
families just dropped it.
Yeah, possibly, but again, I've put it on record. I would prefer it to be the soup taken.
Yeah, conceptually, it is like soup taken, but maybe not just literally.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
So he goes the other way, and he's like, "I want to be O'Meagher." Francis of the Meaghers.
Yes. Now, I'm not going to refer to him as O'Meagher for the rest of this because it actually ties into what we were just saying. I'll explain that now in a second.
Yeah. Because I've never heard him called O'Meagher.
No. So the ticket to leave is what it's called. We've had people that get this punishment before, and basically you've got to go. You got to accept this ticket to leave. You go to Tasmania, and then you have to promise not to try and escape. But if you are going to try to escape, you have to let the authorities know in advance.
Yeah, we did all this with the John Mitchell episode, but yeah, you were allowed roam free around Van Diemen's Land, and we never really got to the bottom of it. I think it's all just honor.
Yes.
If you could escape with this ticket for leave, but then your name would be dirt, whether it was Meagher or O'Meagher, wouldn't be worth living.
Mm-hmm. Again, I don't know how strict they were about it, because it's like, oh no, I told them, but like, what, you just wrote a note and sent it, and then it's going to take like a day or two to get there, by which time you've already gone.
Well, it's kind of like, we like films and movies about like daring escapes where people outwit the guards and sneak off in the night with mannequins, and like, we don't really like stories where like if someone stabs their way out of prison. You know what I mean? It's probably the equivalent of that.
Usually you stab your way into prison.
Yeah, you stab your way into your prison, you can stab your way out of it. But if people like use violence and threats to escape prison, it's not as, we don't really like those stories. We don't retell them as much as stories of like cunning and escape. It's probably the same as that. Like, you could escape with a ticket for leave, but it's not going to be like a heroic tale.
That's fair. But also, I mean, like, and a big thing with the ticket to leave was that you're being sent to Tasmania, but in this case, you're not like quite a thief.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not seen as low level scum. You get a lot of leniency. You're allowed to walk around. You're allowed to like live a life over there. You just have to be all the way over there. And it's, he's from Waterford. He's living in Tasmania. I'd say like the punishment is the sun and the climate.
Well, there was a quote from the John Mitchell's book where he was talking about, walking around.
Oh, so this is the same time, because Mitchell's been sent with.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same guys. But Mitchell was like on horseback going around, and like, he'd see other, common Irish criminals who'd been sent over, and they were all in chains doing, slave labor, breaking rocks. And the guards would be standing over them, and they just like give Mitchell the salute when he's walking past, and he's like, truly this is a terrible prison for me. Like they were they were allowed to do what they wanted, even though they had caused way more trouble than someone who just robbed a loaf of bread or whatever.
Oh, well, I'll get into that now, actually, because he, like his life isn't so bad over there. He's sent to Campbelltown first, and then to a place called Ross. His cottage, you can still find it there today, by the way. Still intact. Don't make him like they used to. But he would still secretly see some of his old Irish comrades.
Yeah.
And he did manage to settle down when he was over there. Got hitched February 22nd, 1851, to a lady called Catherine Bennett. Her dad, farmer, who was sent to Tasmania after robbing some post.
Okay. Like letters.
Yeah. And then you have this lad who organised a revolution and got local lads to go and try and shoot and kill a bunch of policemen.
Yeah, and I'd say the farmer was in shackles.
Yeah, I think the postman might have just delivered it to the wrong address, and he just didn't.
And like 600 guards come down at once and beat the shit out of him. So I'm Paddy J. Flanagan. You're looking for Paddy L. Flanagan. Oi, 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 oi.
But his revolutionary brothers weren't fans of the marriage because she was a lowly commoner.
That's so funny. I was just, before you said he was a farmer, I was going to say he probably didn't approve, but so his rebel friends didn't approve of him marrying. The farmer was like, yeah. No. What did you tried to topple the government? God, that's class. Oh, he's a bit of a bad boy.
Yeah, but I guess it's a case of like beggars can't be choosers because there's probably not too many women down there.
No, it's a hard dating scene. People complained about dating in quarantine. Dating when you're a prisoner in Van Diemen's Land in 1840.
Or dating in a fully open and unrestricted Carlo in modern times.
Yeah, you know.
There's not a whole lot going.
No.
But they build a house together on Lake Sorrel. But she soon after becomes ill. And it wasn't long after this that Meagher tried to escape. He gave up his ticket to leave, set about trying to find a way to America. He told the authorities that in 24 hours he'd consider himself a free man.
Okay.
So he escapes the island, leaving a sick wife. Heavily pregnant. I wasn't sure if that was the illness.
She's got a swelling in her stomach and a terrible mood. I don't know what's happening. So this happened in the other one as well. Whenever they give up the ticket for leave, they have to go into the office or whatever and give it back to the authorities. And then I don't understand why they're not immediately arrested on the spot or detained. They're just sort of allowed leave.
I kind of assume that they send it to or they like leave it somewhere. Like they're not going in just like that. They couldn't.
No.
That would just make no sense. Unless they start counting and they're like, okay, 5-minute head start.
Maybe he got his father-in-law to go in and then maybe the letter got misplaced.
Or he gave it to the father-in-law. He brought it down to hand in and they said, but this isn't your letter. You're at it again.
Oi. We've caught him.
Where has he been sent to this time?
I don't know.
Waterford. No!
The only place worse than Van Diemen's Land.
But, so Thomas Francis Meagher at this point then sets off for New York.
Yeah, so I guess they don't really put that bit in the songs where he leaves his pregnant, sick wife behind.
Yeah, there is actually a lot of songs about him as well. We might throw one into the end of this, but they're not, in fairness, they're not great. Just in terms of, like, they're not catchy. They ain't bangers.
No.
All filler, no killer. But he has a son, the wife, she births him a son that he doesn't get to meet him. Henry Emmett Fitzgerald O'Meagher, and he died at like 4 months of age, not long after Thomas had got to New York. Now, Catherine, the wife, she heads off to London, where she's met by Thomas Sr.
Former mayor of Waterford.
Exactly. And he brings her back to Waterford, where she's welcomed by thousands of citizens, Republicans.
Okay.
Because such as Meagher's famous back home now for being a revolutionary Republican, so they're like, his wife. But she was still sick at the time. And now I've heard this. I'm going to say this sentence, and you can tell me whether it's true or not. I'm saying it is.
Okay.
She was serenaded, I'm not saying back to health, but I am saying back to health, by a crowd of 20,000 Waterfordonians. Waterfordites.
Yeah, I'd believe it. That definitely isn't just something that falls into like the revolutionary mythology. That this woman, because I guess she was Was she born on Van Diemen's Land?
I think so. I
Yeah.
couldn't find that out either. But
So say she spent a lot of time there and then time in London, and it was only when she came back home to the green, green fields of Era that suddenly the sickness didn't seem so bad.
no, that's not true either. Because she's there for a little while, gets over to America, sees Thomas again. He gets her pregnant again.
Fair play to him.
And sends her back home to Ireland because he knows the cost of American healthcare, the healthcare system over
That's
there.
it.
And he's like, we'd better just use a HSE. So she goes back there. Kid, this one, lives to adulthood.
Okay.
His name, Thomas Bennett Meagher.
So the first kid's name was Henry Emmett Fitzgerald Meagher.
Yeah, and then this one gets the name Thomas.
This is sort of like how the kids are named at the end of the Harry Potter films. I don't know why we're talking about Harry Potter so much this episode, but I assume he was named after Henry Gatton and Robert Emmett.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. So who is this
the-
one named after? What's this one called? Thomas
Bennett Meagher, which I think was that her, that's her name. That was her surname.
Okay.
So she's probably taken his name. So it's like, that used to be a thing, a way to continue on the legacy of because the woman, if you only had
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that the woman's family name.
the name would be lost. Yeah, so they're
The
like
mother's
always giving
family
the middle
name would be
name.
used, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they do that, and then this one lives. So I'm saying that Thomas, good strong name,
Yep.
lucky name.
Yeah.
Yeah, she dies. She dies in 1854.
Right, Jesus. So that's not... So, what? It's been 5 years since he was sent to Van Diemen's Land, escaped, got her pregnant twice.
Yeah,
She's gone from Van Diemen's Land to London to Ireland to America to back to Ireland. Had 2 kids
Yes.
and died.
yeah.
They really packed it in back then.
Eventful time it is, in fairness.
Yeah.
Like-
There's a sad reality that you could come to us in 5 years and nothing would have changed.
Oh God, no. Would have regressed worse. I'll have forgotten places I've travelled.
Yeah.
Never mind gone to new places. But yes, that's all in about the space of 3.5 years.
Fair, brave going.
Yeah, so no wonder she was ill. She was wrecked.
Yeah.
But she dies not during childbirth, but shortly enough after. And he's raised by relatives. Never met the dad.
Okay.
And why?
Has he stayed over in America?
Well, yes, I had written down the script that that'll all come out in episode 2 on the Patreon, where we discuss his time in America, marrying a Protestant, fighting in the Civil War as he leads the Irish Brigade into it, becoming the governor of Montana, and his eventual mysterious disappearance / death.
Very good. Excellent.
And yeah, so that was the end of this first half. The other one's going to be on the Patreon. Like we said at the beginning, for those people who skipped the intro, like we know some of you do, the second half of this story, that's the whole self-contained part of the Irish Revolutionary part of his life, etc. That's done now. Now there's all this extra stuff that he does in America that if you want to listen to, there's actually, this is where I'll start being a little more salacious and dropping things like saying, I have a feeling this lad's an alcoholic.
Yeah. Okay. You couldn't just say that about a normal man from 1850s who'd emigrated to America.
I wasn't going to say that about an Irish revolutionary, a rebel.
No, sir.
But now that he's done with that part of his life and he's moved over to America,
Now he's just an old Irish retiree.
yes, a man trying to
Much more susceptible to alcoholism.
but yeah, that's I suppose that's all we have for this part of the episode.
Yeah.
As always, yeah, you can
That was
find
great.
us all on the Instagram, anywhere. Just Shite Talk History. If you just type Shite Talk now into Google, we're the first thing that pops up. Not like the Urban Dictionary idea of like Irish people talking shite. It's our podcast. We've got to like another level of fame.
Yeah.
It's like when Charlie Murphy, the actress from Love Hate,
Yeah. Overtook the other Eddie Murphy's brother.
yeah.
No way.
That was the first I interviewed her. She was my first ever like video interview when I was back when I used to like movie journalism and stuff.
I would put a tenor that you walked into the interview and was like, Charlie Murphy.
Yes, oh no, of course.
Of course.
And then she didn't enjoy that. No, she was very nice. Yeah, and she wasn't wearing a stupid beanie hat that was far too small for. I can't say the same for Killian Scott.
Oh. Yeah. As opposed
I do like him,
The
but
two
he's
of
very
us
good.
are wearing beanie hats right now.
Yes, but adequately sized.
Yeah, that's the key difference. But
Yeah.
cool. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing the second part of this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, nice one. Hope you enjoyed that. And we'll see some of you over on the Patreon for part 2. Good luck.
Shafter.